Menglong's driver finally speaks. What he saw that night changes everything: the silence, the truth. For years, the night has remained sealed, locked away behind tinted windows, unanswered calls, and a silence so heavy it felt intentional. Fans whispered. Insiders avoided eye contact. And one man, seated just inches from the truth, said nothing at all. Until now. At 2:17 a.m., on a rain-slicked stretch of asphalt glowing under sodium streetlights, the driver finally broke his silence. And what he revealed shattered the story everyone thought they knew. The man behind the wheel. They always forget the driver. He's invisible by design. Eyes forward, mouth shut, hands steady on the wheel. He hears everything, sees more than he should, and learns early that survival in the entertainment industry depends on one rule: never speak unless you're ready to disappear. For nearly a decade, the driver, known here only as Mr. Lee, was Menglong's shadow. Airport runs. Midnight studio exits. Hotel back doors. Award night escapes. And on that night, he was there too. The city felt wrong, Mr. Lee says, voice low, as if even now someone might be listening. Not quiet. Hollow. Like something had already happened and the world hadn't caught up yet. Rain streaked down the windshield as Menglong slid into the back seat, hood pulled low, phone clenched tight. He didn't greet the driver. He didn't give directions. He just said one sentence. Drive. Don't stop. No matter what. A call that changed the air. Minutes into the drive, the phone rang. Mr. Lee saw Menglong's reflection in the rearview mirror. How his jaw tightened, how the color drained from his face before he even answered. The voice on the other end was loud enough to leak into the front seat. Angry. Controlled. The kind of anger polished by power. You don't get to walk away, the voice said. You signed more than a contract. You signed your silence. Menglong didn't shout back. He didn't argue. He laughed. Not the easy laugh fans knew, but a sharp, fractured sound that made Mr. Lee's grip tighten on the steering wheel. Then why am I still breathing? Menglong asked. The call ended, and that's when the car behind them appeared. The car that followed. Black. Unmarked. No plates visible under the rain. At first, Mr. Lee told himself it was coincidence. Cities breed paranoia, especially at night. But every turn they made, the car mirrored them. Every light they slowed at, it slowed too. Menglong noticed. Don't lose them, he said suddenly. Let them think we don't know. They drove past the river, its surface broken by rain, reflecting neon signs like shattered glass. The following car drew closer. That's when Menglong said something that still haunts the driver. If anything happens tonight, he said calmly, remember this. I didn't agree to disappear. I agreed to stay quiet. Mr. Lee wanted to ask what that meant. He never got the chance. The stop that wasn't supposed to happen. Traffic forced them to slow near an unfinished commercial complex, concrete skeletons rising into the dark. The black car pulled alongside them. The window rolled down. Mr. Lee didn't look. Drivers aren't supposed to look. But he heard the voice. You've said enough, the man said. You think truth survives contracts? Menglong leaned forward. Truth survives witnesses. Then, sirens. Not police. Not really. Private security vehicles. Too many. Too fast. Chaos erupted. The black car peeled away. Orders were shouted. Someone slammed a fist against Mr. Lee's window. And, in the confusion, Menglong opened the door. Drive, he told the driver quietly. Whatever happens next, drive. Mr. Lee hesitated for half a second. That half second has lived with him ever since. What the driver saw. This is the part Mr. Lee never told anyone. Not the police. Not the company. Not even his family. As he drove away, heart hammering, he glanced into the mirror one last time. He saw Menglong standing alone under the floodlights, rain soaking through his clothes, phone raised. Not to record, but to send something. A message. A file. Proof. And then hands closed in around him. The lights cut out. And the night swallowed the rest. The silence that followed. By morning, the story had already been written. Statements were released. Explanations were polished. Words like misunderstanding, health, personal matters floated through headlines like anesthetic gas. And Mr. Lee? He was told to forget. A new contract. A quiet payout. A warning disguised as concern. You didn't see anything, they told him. And even if you did, no one would believe you. So he stayed silent. For years. Why he's speaking now. Time changes things. Power shifts. People fall. Files resurface. And guilt only grows louder. I realize silence doesn't protect you, Mr. Lee says now. It just delays the damage. He doesn't claim to know everything. He doesn't name names. But his account tears open the carefully sealed narrative and leaves one impossible question hanging in the air. If nothing happened that night, why was so much effort spent erasing it? The truth isn't loud, it waits. Maybe the full truth is still fragmented. Maybe it exists in pieces scattered across phones, memories, and locked drawers. But one thing is certain. That night wasn't ordinary. That silence wasn't accidental. And the driver wasn't just driving a car. He was driving through the moment where truth almost surfaced. Almost. Because sometimes the most dangerous thing in any industry isn't rebellion. It's a witness who finally decides. He's done being quiet. Silence protected the story. Speech just broke it. After the night, when silence started watching back ***, Mr. Lee thought speaking would feel like relief. He was wrong. The first night after his words reached the world, he didn't sleep. The apartment clock ticked too loudly, each second sounding like a knock that hadn't arrived yet. Outside, a car idled longer than necessary. When it finally drove away, the silence felt heavier, as if it had learned his name. I used to think silence was empty, he says. Now I know it's crowded. The memory that refused to stay buried. Once the door closed on menglong that night, Mr. Lee drove on instinct alone. Streets blurred. Traffic lights became suggestions. The radio crackled, then died. He didn't stop until dawn bruised the sky. At a red light near the old broadcasting tower, his hands started shaking so violently he had to pull over. That's when he realized something was wrong with the car. The back seat pocket, where menglong always kept a second phone, was no longer flat. There was a weight inside. Mr. Lee didn't open it then. He was too afraid of what proof might look like in the open air. Proof has gravity. It bends lives around it. He hid it instead. What was sent before the lights went out? Weeks later, when rumors hardened into official narratives, Mr. Lee finally checked the device. The phone was cracked but alive. No passcode. As if menglong wanted it found. Just not yet. There was one outgoing message, time-stamped 37 seconds before the floodlights cut out. It wasn't text. It was a file transfer. A compressed folder sent to 3 recipients whose names were saved as symbols, not letters. Inside, voice notes, contract fragments, security schedules, and a single video recorded in the dark. menglong's face half-lit, eyes steady. If this opens, he said to the camera, then something already went wrong.
Don't warn me yet.
Ask questions. Mr. Lee closed the phone and didn't touch it again for years. The industry's quiet response. When the driver finally spoke publicly, the response wasn't outrage. It was precision. Articles appeared within hours, carefully worded, politely dismissive. Phrases like unverified, misremembered, emotionally compromised drifted across screens. A former colleague messaged him with a single sentence. You're confusing coincidence with conspiracy. Then came the phone calls. Not threats. Invitations. A man with an expensive watch offered him a meeting to clarify timelines. A woman with a voice like velvet suggested he protect his legacy. Someone else reminded him, gently, that drivers are replaceable. Mr. Lee declined them all. He had already lived the cost of silence. The night the car came back. 3 days after his interview aired, Mr. Lee saw it again. The same black car. No plates. Parked across the street, engine off, lights dark. He stood behind his curtains and watched rain bead along its hood. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. The car didn't move. A memory surfaced. Yu Menglong's voice in the back seat. Truth survives witnesses. Mr. Li opened the drawer. The phone was still there. A choice, finally made. He knew what would happen if he handed it over. Evidence doesn't explode. It evaporates. Files go missing. Context dissolves. What remains is confusion dressed as closure. So he did something different. He copied everything. Encrypted it. Fragmented it. Scheduled it. If anything happened to him, the files wouldn't appear all at once. They would drip, one piece at a time, into the public record, impossible to grab without admitting they existed. When he finished, the black car across the street finally drove away. Why? The driver matters. People keep asking Mr. Li why he waited so long. He answers honestly. Because courage isn't loud, he says. It's patient. It waits until fear gets tired. Drivers aren't heroes in stories. They're background motion. But that's exactly why they matter. They see entrances and exits. They hear rehearsals before the performance. They notice which doors are never meant to open. That night, Mr. Li didn't just drive a car. He crossed the boundary between obedience and memory. The truth hasn't finished arriving. The continuation of Yu Menglong's story isn't a single revelation. It's a pressure building beneath polished surfaces. It's old files breathing again. It's witnesses realizing that forgetting takes more effort than remembering. And somewhere in the city, a former driver sleeps with his phone charged, his curtains open, and his fear finally facing the right direction. Because the night he's been running from, it already happened. Now it's just catching up to everyone else.